Hey, what's up guys? It's 2Up0T, and today's video is going to be different than all my others because I'm going to be telling you the story of how I got scammed in the early days of this channel. I felt like it was the right time to share this story and also highlight the red flags that you can look out for to stay safe online. It all started back in February of 2024 after I started my video series on the Apple Vision Pro, and I was getting increasingly frustrated by the quality of the audio in my videos, as well as my own editing, which I've hopefully been improving over time. I started looking for a wireless mic to improve the overall quality of audio, and I was looking for something that was going to be easy for me to take on and off, that I didn't have to clip on, and after doing a bunch of research, I settled on the DJI Mic 2. And at the time, this mic cost close to $350, and that was too far out of my budget for something that I would pretty much be only using to make YouTube content. So I turned to third-party marketplaces like Facebook, OfferUp, and Craigslist to see what my options were, and if there was any way that I could maybe get a little bit of a deal. And I came across a post on Craigslist for a microphone that was brand new and only $112, almost a third of the retail price, and it was less than a half hour away from me. You can see there's a picture of a business card next to it with some of the other products that they sold. Generic images of monitors, laptops, printers, and phones. So I thought, why not shoot them a text and see what comes of it? I figured at the end of the day, if I met up with them and it didn't feel right, then I just wouldn't buy it. So I texted them, and I've affectionately entered them in my contacts as DJI Mic Scammer. I said, hi, I came across the DJI mic that you posted for sale on Craigslist. Is it available? He said, hey buddy, it is available, with no dents or scratches. After we asked each other where we were located, I found out that he's actually about 2.5 hours away from me, which raised a little bit of a flag in my mind, but it wasn't so far that I was immediately concerned. So I asked him if he ever came closer to Phoenix, and he said that he didn't really come out this way. Then he asked if I'd be open to shipping options, to which I immediately said no. I was not going to risk paying him and not receiving the item. He asked me why not, and also said that I could pay half now and half after receiving the item. I replied that the only reason I messaged him was because of where I thought he was and that we could meet somewhere in the middle. And so he said that he had changed his location on Craigslist, and apparently the change didn't go through or something to that effect. And he was saying it was a glitch, so he apologized for it. So I said, if you do ever end up coming to Phoenix, then I'd be happy to make a deal with you, to which he said, okay. And you know, the day passed and I kept looking for more and more mic deals online, and everyone was selling them for $180 or $200. And as much as I wanted it, I just couldn't spend that kind of money. So, you know, I thought back on it, and he had offered for me to pay half and then the other half upon receipt. So I figured, all right, if he's selling it for $112 and he wants me to pay half now, that's $56. If I lose $56, it's gonna suck, but it's not the end of the world. So I reached out to him the following day and I said, what's your best price, including shipping? And I'd be willing to pay half up front now and half upon delivery. And he said, take a little bit of a break, maybe $100. 50 now, and then the other half when I get the package. And then he said, actually, 125 after I gave him my name and address, so he asked for $65 up front. I said, how about 112, your original asking price, and I'll send you 56 now and 56 after delivery. To which he said, sure, and that he has Zelle and Apple Pay. So I said, sure, I can Apple Pay you. And I asked if the number that I should send the Apple Pay payment to was the phone number on the business card on his Craigslist post. And he said, actually here, send it to this email, and send him a screenshot once I send it. And then when I tried to send him the Apple Pay payment to that email address, it didn't go through. It gave me an error. So that was a little bit of a red flag, but I've had issues with digital payments not going through before. So I asked him for his Zelle. And so he gave me his number and his name, which he said was Jason. I was at least able to verify the name of the Zelle account as the Zelle payment went through. $56 sent to Jason. I sent him the screenshots confirming it went through, and I asked him to give me a confirmation of shipping once he sent it out. He said, yeah, buddy, I will. And then I asked him if he'd be sending it out that day. He said he'd be going to FedEx in a little bit. So I reached out to him a couple hours later and I asked him if he had the tracking number for me yet. And he didn't respond. So I waited another hour, messaged him again, and said, hey, actually, there was a change in the shipping cost, and that I'd have to send him an extra $10. So he asked me to send him the money. I was about to say, not my problem, but now this guy's got my $56. So I figured $10 is still a lot less than the potentially $300 or more to buy this thing new. So I said, sure, I'll send you $66 when I get it. He said, no, send it now, because I need the funds. It's just 10. I tried to negotiate this a bit too. So I said, How about this? I'll send you another 5, and we can include the other 5 after delivery. But I'd like the tracking number, please. He says, no, send me $10. You have to send me the funds before I send you the tracking. So I say, fine, I'll send the 10, but I want the tracking first, please. So he sends me an altered screenshot obscuring part of the tracking number and missing key information. It says the package is in transit, and there's the first part of a tracking number, and the rest of it has been scrubbed or marked up, and the sender and receiver locations are both blank. At this point, I am livid. This guy is clearly toying with me, trying to squeeze another $10 out of me, and I've decided he's not getting another dime. Now he's holding my tracking number hostage. And he said, send me the $10 first. Then you can have the tracking. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Apparently, we're trying to rebuild our relationship here. So I say, neither am I, sir. I'm trying to be respectful here. But we agreed that I would send you half now and half upon delivery, and that you'd send me the tracking information once you shipped it. And now you're saying I need to send you $10 before giving the information, which isn't fair. And he didn't acknowledge any of the emotion of what I was saying. And he said, send me $10. I'm waiting for a screenshot. And I say, I will send it as soon as I see the full tracking number. And he says, waiting on you to send $10, buddy. And I say, I'll send it as soon as I see the full tracking number. And he says, no, send 10 now. And then I stay firm. I say, that's okay. I'll just send you $66 when I get it. And now he tries to make me think that I'm scamming him, because he says, LOL, I won't send you the tracking. I know for sure you won't send me the $10. And I say, you're right. I'll send you $10 when I get the DJI mic. You have my word, my friend, because he's been calling me buddy. And he says, no, I can't wait till then because I need the money. And I say, then send me the tracking number. I don't know why it's such a big deal. Send me the money, $10. I've already sent you $56 with no guarantee that you've actually sent me anything. And he says, no guarantee. Then he proceeds to send me these pictures or screenshots of weird angles of FedEx workers and blurry pictures of boxes showing me that he was allegedly in a FedEx store and that he obviously sent out the shipment. And he says, these are pictures I took at the station. And I call him out on it. I said, the tracking number would tell me that it's coming to me. These could be FedEx pictures from anywhere, but you have my very real $56. So I say, I'll send you the $10, either after I receive a complete tracking number showing me that there's a package on its way to me, or after I receive it, I'll send you the remaining $56 that I owe you. Then he tries to pull on my heartstrings a little bit. You mean, if I asked you to lend me some money or give me $10, you wouldn't give it to me? Answer my question. I say I might, but right now we're in the middle of a business transaction. And he goes back to the 10. Send $10 and you'll get the tracking. And I say, LOL, I'll just wait for the item. Thanks. He says, LOL, okay. He's back at it the next morning asking for the 10. And I say, before I send you any more money, I need proof that you sent that item to me, not a generic picture from FedEx or half of a tracking number that you could have downloaded from anywhere off the internet. That, my friend, because we're friends, right, is the way that you do business. When someone pays you for something, you either give them the product or you give them confirmation that you sent the product. And he says, send me 10. That's all I need from you. And I tell him to have a nice day, to enjoy my $56 and consider it a gift because I know that I'm not getting this mic from him. Heck, he probably doesn't even have one to sell and is doing this with countless other buyers for countless other products. And as a word of advice, try to earn an honest living instead of scamming people online. He says, scam? I never scammed you. And I say, I'll believe that when I get the item, and I'll send you what I owe you at that time. Moving into day 3, he messages me fairly early in the morning. Hey, why are you doing this, buddy? I need the money. I need to pay for my bills. I say, I understand that, but before I can send you any more money, I need proof that you sent the item to me. Not a generic picture from FedEx or half of a tracking number. He says, okay, hold on, let me send you the receipt. While he's sending me the receipt, I say also, if you really did send me the item, as you said you did, and you're in Yuma, as you said you were, I should have the item by today or tomorrow at the latest, especially if you paid more for shipping. And once I get it, I'll send you $66, as promised. And he said, no, I want the 10 now, like RN, right now. So I say, okay, show me the receipt. And finally, he does send me a screenshot of a receipt or a picture of a receipt, Tracking number is fully blocked out this time. It does have my name and address on it. I blocked that out for obvious reasons, and shows that he paid $25, and he says that he's shipping it for me and to send him $25. What happened to $10? So at this point, I'm done with him. I knew I wasn't getting the microphone. And he comes back to me the following day, day 4 if you've been counting, and he says, "Hey." I say, "Hello." He says, "Sorry, got busy. How are you?" I say, "I'm all right." He says, "Oh, okay, sorry. I never scammed you. Why are you calling me names?" I said, "Because I've paid money for something and I still haven't gotten it." And he says, "I just got a call from FedEx now that the package got delayed due to insurance policy on the top priority mailing option for your package. So it's recommended for me now to go and sort that out and make sure the package is fully insured." And he was told that the insurance policy fees for the package, due to its size, will cost up to $50. And I say, "LOL. Good one." After having already gotten my $56, he kept trying to get more and more and more, starting with 10, then 25, and now 50. So then he tries to call me and I don't answer, and he says, "Pick up." And I say, "Sorry, I'm not paying you any more money. The package doesn't need insurance, so yeah, enjoy my money. We're done." And now I text him once more at the end of the day, because at this point the package should have arrived, and I say, "Yeah, I didn't think it would arrive today." And I don't get a response. I wasn't expecting one. But then he starts texting me the following day, says, "Are you there?" I say, "Yes." "I don't even need you to send me the other half of the money. Just pay for the insurance, buddy, then we're good to go. I left your package at the FedEx. It's there. Don't want to have a bad record with anyone. I never had a bad record on Craigslist. I have kids. I don't want any issues with the authorities." I say, "Not my problem. I'm not paying you any more money." So he says, "Let's settle this out. Send me $50 for the insurance policy." I say, "No." He says, "Okay then. I have nothing to say. Your package is with FedEx." And I say, "Sure it is." He tells me to send the $50 so I can get this done. I say, "No." And I say, "It's really sad that people like you exist. You're what's wrong with the world. I never scammed you, man. Please be mindful of your words." And I say, "You've done nothing but lie to me and string me along to get more money." He says, "Are you crazy?" I say, "If you're not scamming me, then give it back." He says, "Do you know how much money I earn bi-weekly? What's wrong with you? You're doing too much. Please stop texting me. When the authorities come, we're going to settle this." And I say, "They are coming. I've already filed a report with the police. Expect a call." I didn't really file a report. He says, "Yeah, call them. Whoever is at fault will pay." And I say, "You will. Plus, I'm going to report you for calling me names," he says. "You've been doing too much." At this point, I just wanted to waste his time and prevent him from scamming other people. So I found that the company that was on his business card had an Instagram page, and they were selling a MacBook on that page for $1,200. New 2023 15-inch MacBook Air M2. So I messaged him about it from another number, and he asked me where I'm located. So at this point I switched it up a bit and I said, "I'm in Fremont, California. What about you?" He says, "Oh, cool. I'm in Santa Monica." So he went from Mesa to Yuma, Arizona to Santa Maria, California overnight. And I see that's near LA. So I say, "Oh, actually, I'm headed down to LA this weekend. I'm passing through that area. What Macs do you have?" "I'm looking for an Air." And I say, "But I actually want it shipped to me. I don't want to carry it around in LA. And he says, "Oh, okay." And then I say, "So when you can, let me know what you have in your best price." And he's been liking all of my messages because he has an iPhone, and he says, "I can have it shipped to you. What's your offer?" And I say, "I'm looking to spend about $500. What do you have?" And he says, "I have the Air." And he asks for my name and address, and I come up with a friend of mine that lives in Fremont, California, Noel Smuck. And he says, "Okay, do you have Zelle or Apple Pay?" And I say that I have Zelle. And he gives me his number, which is the exact same number that I'd Zelled earlier. And he says, "That's my Zelle. Send me a screenshot once you send it." And I say, "Okay, I'll send it over later today." And he says, "I was thinking of heading to FedEx on my way to work. Or what do you think?" He's suddenly become very friendly and patient, but I want to string him along a little bit. So I tell him that my wife does all the Zelling and I'll talk to her, see when she can send it. And he says, "Okay, keep me posted." And I said, "Can you send me a picture of the MacBook?" He says, "Sure, let me dress for work and I'm gonna do that." And I say, "We're good to go. Sending you the Zells shortly. Do you mind if I split it up and send some now and the rest after I get it?" And he says, "Yes, we can do half now and the other half after shipping." And I say, "Okay, I'm really excited. This is my first Mac." And he says, "Wow." And then I tell him, "Oh no, My wife sent the full amount, LOL, and he sends me a screenshot. So I took one of the earlier confirmations I sent him and I edited it to make it kind of look like $500. I probably didn't do a very good job because he then immediately messaged me and said, "It's you, Hassan," getting my name completely wrong. And so I then have to come clean and say, "Hey, suddenly moved from Yuma, huh?" He says, "LOL, I never posted a laptop. I knew you were the one, LOL." So I go back to my original thread with him and I thank him for acknowledging that I was just speaking to him on the other app and send him screenshots of his MacBook Post that has the same business card as the DJI mic that I'd originally wanted to buy from him. And he then sends me a voice memo asking for the rest of the money. And it clearly sounds like he's not from Arizona or even America. He definitely sounded African. And I don't want to stereotype, but there's a proliferation of Nigerian scammers online. And I could even hear some kids in the background. And I say, "It sounds like you had kids in your car when you sent that audio message. I hope you used that money to feed them." And he seems to have given up as I don't hear from him for several days. I message him once after a couple days asking for my money back, to which he replies that he's broke. I then message him a couple months later, and after a quick reminder of who I am, he remembers where I'm from and roughly how much he scammed me for, falsely remembering it as $50 instead of $56. But I never hear from him again, and eventually my number is blocked. I end up not getting the microphone from him, and instead from a reseller on Amazon. As you can see, I've been donning it for this video, as well as several earlier ones. I learned a very valuable lesson that I should probably have known going into this whole engagement, that you should never ever send money to people that you don't know or trust. Look for signs that someone is trying to scam you. They're advertising a price that is too good to be true. They post from one place and then claim to be in another. That's a red flag. They ask whether you'd be willing to have the item shipped to you. Now, this isn't always a red flag, but you should have that expectation going into the conversation and not be surprised by it. If there's glitches in the platform, or if your digital payments aren't going through, if contact information differs from payment methods, or if there's last-minute pricing or location changes, and then finally, if they're sending weird, obscured, fishy-looking screenshots or pictures, usually means that they're fake. But the biggest one is that at the end of the day, your gut is telling you not to do it, not to go through with it, then that's what you need to follow, because you're probably right. Please, protect yourself online, learn from my example, and have a good one. Thank you.